am so excited to be with you today. We have had quite a journey over the last, it hasn't even been that long, but maybe 5, 6 months. We have just had an incredible journey together, and I'm so excited to share with everyone our journey and how we came together and why we developed this journal for leaders. So, I know how we met, but why don't you tell everyone else how we met?
Sure. So, two 50-something women decide to show up at a running convention, not being great runners, knowing that everybody in the room was probably, well, definitely was younger and probably was faster and had been doing this a lot longer than either you or I.
Yeah.
But it was instant connection. It was like long lost friends, sister from another mother. You just were the person I was supposed to meet there, obviously. We had very similar paths in corporate America, worked with Fortune 50 companies, decades of experience. And we just knew that we would do something together at some point. Nothing solid came out of that. And in fact, it's actually a few years later that we reconnected. And I reached out to you to congratulate you on your first journal, Push Up the Sun, and really just heartfelt congratulations for the wonderful, gift to the world that is. And you asked a question. So what was I doing? And would I be willing to maybe look at possibilities of exploring another journal with you? And that was the beginning of Accelerate Your Leadership Journey.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you and I, it's funny because before you reached out, I had been thinking about this journal, and I'm like, there's just so much here, and to be able to collaborate with someone who understands it, who understands what it's like to be a leader in corporate America or under intense pressure of running an organization. Not everyone has had that tremendous experience, and I knew you coming from your just incredible history of working with leaders and coaching executives, that you would get it. And as I was thinking about that, lo and behold, your message came through like out of the blue. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, thank you, Lord, it's Kathy. So this has been such an incredible journey. I remember when we left that running retreat where they were all running 8.5-minute miles trying to get to 8-minute miles. And we're just like, we finished.
Got the finisher's medal.
Yeah, we finished. But it has been just an incredible journey with you. And it's been so easy. And I think that's one of the things that you and I talk about. Like, we just so understand what's needed today. We're still connected with executives. We still do coaching. We still have friends who work within the organizations. And even though we're not, we get it, right? Even with the pandemic being very different and the social injustice awareness being so prolific, we understand the pressures and the conditions that puts on organizations. And so for you and I, this was it was easy.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
And speaking to those individuals we know, both friends and colleagues still in corporate America, with the flipping of the switch of the pandemic and instantaneously having to lead from a very different place, and not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, reaching across time zones. And executives reach across time zones. That's not new. But
Right.
What is new is allowing people to shift their work to those time zones and to be with family, to support extended family, et cetera. And that's been really hard. So we not only bring the world experience that we both had in those corporate jobs and working with and for those leaders and executives, but it's also the current realities of what's going on in today's business environment and how to support not only the leaders, but the leaders with the teams to help them through this. Because without intentionality, it's so easy to really flounder in this environment.
You're so right. It's easy to get lost in everything because not only are you trying to lead as a leader of leaders and organizations, but you're dealing with your family, you're dealing with health issues, you're dealing with the fear of the pandemic, you've got kids, you've got school. Like there's so much has just exploded,
Mhm.
and folks have worked so hard to get that kind of under control. But even with that, one of the things that you and I have both seen is that organizations have put additional pressure on leaders for them to respond accordingly to how their employees needed to be responded to and with during the pandemic, right? So mental health issues are huge right now. So how do you engage your team when they're thinking about a million different things and they've got kids running around and the dog is barking and they're sitting in their house and worried about this and their mom, it's just like so much, right? And as we've experienced and as we've heard, it's so easy to lose sight, lose
Yeah.
boundaries, forget about your intentions, and get lost in survival.
Absolutely.
And
And I'm going to use two airline analogies for this just because they're so pertinent. The first one, and we actually put the quote in our book,
yeah,
and that is the oxygen mask theory. You can't help anyone else until you put your own mask on first. And why people fear flying is they don't have control. The minute you walk into that airplane, the pilot now controls your life.
yeah,
And you can really parallel that to today's example of an executive where they have a sense of loss of control. The pandemic has indeed shifted the way in which they engage and the way in which they work. And, whether it's their child that's doing homeschooling and they can't really tell whether they're engaging with the class and with the teacher or if they're playing video games, it's the
yeah.
same thing with the colleagues and with the employees. And it's a really, really difficult and very, very hard environment. And it is causing significant strain and will have long lasting repercussions on everyone. So it's not just managing to and through, it's how do we get beyond this and how do we help them establish those healthy habits,
Yes.
both for themselves and for every area of their lives,
Yeah.
such that they can be the role model and they can help themselves.
Right.
Oxygen mask theory.
Yeah. I love that. I love that analogy. It's so appropriate for right now. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot too is it's not always like beginning the habits, it's re-engaging with those habits that made people successful, help them create balance in their lives under all the other circumstances up until March 2020. But it seems like there's been so much different pressures that people kind of think that they have to forget all that, right? To sit at a desk from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night and not taking any breaks and having people bring you food and telling the kids to get out of the room because you're busy. Those are things that we used to set time aside, like we're going to have dinner together or we're going to, help the kids with their homework. But in a lot of cases, that has exploded. We've lost the framework. So what we've done with this journal was we've worked really hard to bring the framework back, so you can live this amazing life, right? And that's the intention of it.
Absolutely, Barbara. And in fact, two of the things that I find most useful, in fact, one of them kind of surprised me, which, not only do we teach, coach, and use these tools with our clients, we personally use them. And
Yeah,
at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the things that I did, and it really surprised me how aware it made me of things that I thought I was on top of,
yeah,
was our wheel of life. I really took the time to ask myself, how full was I in each of those areas of
yeah,
that wheel of life? And where did I want to be?
yeah.
And so I actually spent the time and I actually went through this myself and did that. And it surprised me, some of them, how much I was missing just because of the shift. And that
Kathy,
then,
yeah, I'm sorry, Kathy. Before you go on, I think what I would love for have you do is explain the wheel of life and how you work it.
so you'll find the wheel of life, and this is what it looks like. I'll take it down from the screen and talk a little bit more about it in a minute. And it's actually, we find it so important, it's twice in our journal. First time you'll find it is on page 41. And what you do is you take a look at each of those aspects of your life, whether it's personal growth, family, career, finances, friends, social, anything that's meaningful to you. You can change the nomenclature. This is just what we've chosen based on the work we've done with individuals and the work we've done on ourselves. So you ask yourself, how full you are on each of those areas, from 1 to 10. Is there's lines that represent each of those, and you fill it in. Just take a colored pencil and just fill it in. Go through all of the different areas of your life, then come back and ask yourself the question, how full do I want to be?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to find you're full enough. You might
Yeah.
go, well, let's see, family, full enough. Got as much family as I need right now. Maybe even want a
Yeah.
little bit less. Then
Yeah.
you can ask yourself how you're going to, intentionally make those shifts to either get less of or more of a specific area. And for me personally, I'll just share a little personal antecedent.
Yeah.
Huge extrovert, and I am finding in the pandemic that my social was way low, way, way, way low. And so I had to think about ways to engage differently. Of course, we know how to do that. Barbara and I are doing that with ourselves in the development of the journal, with our friends, with our family. Yeah, you Zoom. Yeah, you do those things.
Yeah.
It goes beyond that. And that's also what you're going to find in the book. Um, I've started doing like writing cards, like physical cards. I don't just send people a little drop of an instant
Yeah.
message, how you doing, or a quick email.
Yeah.
And just connecting in ways that are meaningful not only to the sender but the receiver,
Yeah.
letting people know how important they are to me. And you're going to find many tools in our journal on how to do that. So again, the wheel of life, it can be very impactful, and it does lead to the other part that Barbara was talking about earlier, habits and tracking those habits. We're all really good at some things, and we're all a little bit of a procrastinator on some other things. And I think the pandemic has actually expanded and really put some of those under a microscope. So, there are many, many things that we can assist you virtually to help you understand how to begin to re-engage. I'm not going to suggest that there's tons of new material, but there's ways to look at everything that are different and perhaps maybe a little more impactful. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are success habits, right? And these are success habits that have made leaders successful in the past. But again, because of
Yes.
everything going on in the environment, they get lost in the shuffle. And I think the other thing that I want to share, you talked about the wheel of life. I love the wheel of life, right? It
Mhm.
really helped me examine, like, where was I spending all of my time?
Yes.
And where am I not spending the time, which would really fulfill me and help me get through the days in much more joy and gratitude, right? So, we put the wheel of life in a second time later in the journal so you can see the progress that you've made, right? I mean, it's not just about doing it, but you have to see progress. And as leaders, everyone wants to see progress, right? I do, you do, we all do. So that's one way of assessing, have I made a difference that I've committed to? And I think it's really interesting what we've done is built within the journal is we've kind of built the framework for you to stay consistent. We talk about gratitude, right? Gratitude is so huge. We know gratitude is connection to the absolute joy and happiness that we have in life. Well, we put in gratitude, not like a daily gratitude journal. You can buy daily gratitude journals. We put in like once a month, this heartfelt, deep gratitude, impact your life kind of focus.
Mhm.
And so we want you to work through that because that's where the joy comes from, right? It's great to see thank you every day. It's great for all of that. But it's the depth that we're looking for that, you know, people respond to the heartfelt. Um,
Mhm.
and that's what we're
Yeah.
going for. So, we've
Right.
put a lot in here, but we've spoken a lot about what you need as a leader, and that's been really important.